hypothesis in this neighborhood potentially is that we have two kind of groups of people. We know that the socioeconomic status is not high, but I think within that there's two groups. One I'm going to call sort of from the middle of the socioeconomic status to maybe the 50th to maybe the 25th percentile. There are people who have cars, probably jobs, and they may be the ones moving around to go up to the ShopRite, right? Because the ShopRite's like 1.7 miles away, and people are going there because they like the prices and they like the quality. Quality seems to be a big issue. Nobody wants to spend their money on anything they perceive is not good quality. We don't know why that's perceived there. That's a big question. But it does seem that if you have transportation and you're inclined to buy fruits and vegetables, that you'll take yourself to where you find the best prices and the best quality. We also think there's another level of people who might be bound to the neighborhood because they don't have cars or they don't have enough money, or perhaps they're elderly and they have physical limitations. And these seem to be another group of people who might have more financial limitations. Maybe they get some of the public subsidies. We don't know if they have cars or not, but we're assuming that maybe they're a little bit more tied to the neighborhood. Like I said, we saw some evidence that maybe some of the elderly were in that group, and that might be a population that's more tied to neighborhood, very close food sources. So we think there's two, but I would have to investigate that out. Really, that might be something for you guys as journalists.
Could you explain some research you might have done in the past?
Okay, in the past. Well, I have a very varied research history. My background in nutrition is that I was a practicing pediatric dietitian. So I spent 10 years at Children's Hospital of Philadelphia and in a clinical and research capacity. So when I was there, I would be on teams where we were studying how to get children to grow better and develop better who had chronic illness. So I was working with a variety of chronic illnesses, but we were trying to figure out how to define their nutrient needs better, and also to understand the course of the disease to see where we could have an impact on their growth and development. Because pediatrics is all about developing the child to the utmost. So that's my past research. Yes?
Just with your past research from working in Philadelphia or your current research, have you noticed any ties between like nutrition and health with people who are on food stamps and people who aren't? Because you said you're working with people who are mostly poor, but there's a difference between those.
Okay, so I think here's the big dilemma, and I'm going to also let Dana speak to this because we've been thinking about this a lot. The big dilemma is, and you guys see this, I'm sure, in the media all the time. A lot of the lower socioeconomic levels, the lower you go in socioeconomic level, the more obesity there is. And the higher you go in socioeconomic level in populations, the less obesity that there is in general. Okay? So why is it that as you go down in socioeconomic level, why is it that there's more obesity when at the same time there's supposed to be food insecurity? Okay. So the nutrition scientists have done the studies and reconciled this out to say that bad food is cheap. So if someone has $5, so we're talking about this. We were just talking about this on the way over. Someone has $5. Okay. And if you look at the calories that will get you, if you bought fruit with that, you might get 200 calories. If you bought vegetables with $5, you might get 100 calories. If you buy potato chips, 2 bags of chips or something, you can get 1,500 calories. If you buy ramen noodles, how many calories you think?
At least 1,000.
At least 1,000. Okay. If you go take your $5 to McDonald's,
Over 1,000.
over 1,000. Okay. So we know that bad for you food is a lot more calories, and it's also cheaper. Second thing about that, from a nutrition standpoint, is that if you're buying these things that have a lot of calories and are cheap, they often don't have nutrients. So we have, the data in our field shows us that we have obesity in food insecurity because we think people are buying calories because they're hungry. But we also have malnutrition because the stuff that has calories tends to be cheap and doesn't have nutrients. So now we have malnutrition on top of that. We have if you have malnutrition, you have a direct impact on human potential. Unequivocally. Okay? Now the question for us, as we're trying to sort this out, becomes, where are we as a society and as culture? Is this seeking out calories in food insecurity? Is it truly a need now, or is it a want? And where is that want culturally defined? So, for instance, if you in lower socioeconomic levels, you have more obesity. Well, you don't maybe need the ramen noodles. Maybe you need the apples sometimes, right?
Okay.
So maybe you need the apples not only for the nutrients, but for the lower calories, or the fiber, or the vitamin C, or whatever you want. So we're trying to sort out here how much of this story on food insecurity how much is it really necessary for people to seek out all these calories? And is it better for us to figure out a way to stabilize the ability to purchase food as opposed to having everybody purchase all this food at the beginning of the month that's going to last in packages and it's high in calories, and you're going to open it up when you're hungry, so it's all kind of wrapped around that. But it really comes down to, sometimes we think you need the apple, and how do we figure that out? How do we make that happen? Was that too complicated an explanation here, Dana? Leave it to you. Just finish that up, because I think I got a little complicated there.
Well, no, I definitely, I see your point, and to put that to use, I worked with Nutrition Links last semester, which is an organization that reaches out within the community and gives educational classes as well as cooking demonstrations. And we worked with maybe a handful of women from this general community here. We actually recruited from the Fresh Grocer. And what we found was that there was just a lack of education overall that was leading to them making the choices that they were making. It wasn't going back to that, do you need the ramen noodles or do you need the apple? They really did need the apple. They didn't quite know that or understand that they only needed this amount of calories a day, and it actually was beneficial to have a smaller portion size. And it's not always about getting the most calories for your buck, it's more about the nutrients, and that there's a disconnect between the community and that nutrition education piece. And I think that if it was more well understood, they would be able to use their money more wisely and be able to purchase those fruits and vegetables and feel as though it fit into their diet.
Yeah, and just as an aside to this, there's a woman at New York University called Mary Nessel. So if you go to her website, she has lots of blogs and everything. But she feels that the food industry has done this for the most part in creating the want for cheap food and lots of calories. And that's not just the low socioeconomic groups. That's in everybody. You can see that throughout all socioeconomic levels in the country. The create of that want through advertising is thought to be a big issue. Yes?
So Philadelphia has one of the highest obesity rates